Have you ever walked into your kitchen and felt something was off? Not because it's messy, not because it's too small, but because the space just didn't feel like it was supporting you. Maybe you couldn't explain it, but deep down you sensed it. This room, the place where you nourish yourself and your loved ones, was quietly affecting your energy, your focus, and maybe even your finances. What if the way your kitchen is arranged was actually holding you back? This isn't about superstition. It's about design, energy, and subtle choices. It's about how your space reflects your life and shapes it in return. In this video, we'll explore 10 subtle kitchen design mistakes that may be disrupting the energy in your home and how to gently shift them. These are small things. Most people overlook them, but they carry big symbolism and can ripple into real change when you bring intention to them. If you've been feeling stuck, scattered, or like abundance just isn't flowing the way it should, this might be the reset you need, because your kitchen isn't just where you cook. It's where energy gathers. It's where daily rituals take shape. It's where family energy forms and finances take root. And when that energy is blocked or imbalanced, it shows up everywhere else. So today we're going to look at what's silently shaping your environment. What might be draining your energy, your wealth, and your peace of mind, and how to turn it around using practical and beautiful solutions inspired by Feng Shui. And if you find value in insights like this, I gently invite you to like this video, share it with someone who might resonate, and subscribe to New Day Mindfulness. Your support helps this channel grow and reach more people who care about living with clarity, beauty, and intention. I'm on the path to reaching our first 1,000 subscribers, and every small act of support truly means the world. So take a deep breath, look around your kitchen. This isn't about redesigning your space overnight, it's about reconnecting with it. Let's begin. Part 1, energy blockers in your kitchen. Mistake number 1, misplaced utility items. Why keeping a broom in the kitchen drains energy and focus. In the realm of interior energy dynamics, especially in Feng Shui philosophy, each object you place in your space carries symbolic weight. A room is not just a room. A broom is not just a cleaning tool. In design and energy psychology, the kitchen is more than a cooking zone. It's the energetic heart of your home. It holds the fire that fuels well-being, the warmth of gathering, and the quiet architecture of your daily rituals. So when a utilitarian item like a broom is carelessly stored in the same sacred zone that symbolizes nourishment, it sends mixed energetic messages, whether you believe in Qi or not. Let's take a closer look. Why does it matter where you keep your broom? Because even though your broom doesn't speak, it communicates. It says, there's a mess. There's something to fix. You're not done yet. It anchors the mindset of labor and maintenance rather than nourishment and abundance. From a design psychology lens, this subtle influence is called visual suggestion. Every object in your field of vision, consciously or not, suggests a behavior, a feeling, or a mindset. When you place your broom leaning in the kitchen corner or beside the refrigerator, what you're doing is training your mind to associate your cooking space with cleaning tasks, domestic stress, and unfinished work. It may seem like a stretch, but repeated exposure to these signals adds up, and they slowly begin to color your mental state. Even Oprah Winfrey, an icon of intentional living, has shared how the way she organizes her kitchen has everything to do with how she feels in it. In a 2018 interview with O, the Oprah magazine, she described her belief that space carries emotion, and that clutter, especially visible clutter, reduces your capacity for stillness and clarity. A broom isn't clutter in the traditional sense, but symbolically it adds noise. It suggests interruption. Now let's zoom in from the symbolic and explore how this plays out practically. The kitchen is where you prepare food, yes, but deeper than that, it's where you generate energy. It's where you transition from rush to nourishment, from the outside world to the inner sanctuary of your home. If your visual environment is peppered with reminders of chores, grime, and tools meant to clean up messes, your nervous system never fully rests. There's always a low hum of tension, an open loop in your brain. In psychology, this is similar to what's called cognitive residue, the lingering attention we give to unfinished tasks. A visible broom can quietly suggest, you haven't finished yet. even if the space is spotless. The suggestion alone impacts your emotional baseline. Now let's talk about the subconscious symbolism. In traditional Feng Shui, the broom represents the act of sweeping away, which, depending on placement and timing, can mean clearing bad energy, yes, but also unintentionally sweeping away the good. In many cultures, there are beliefs about not sweeping after dark or sweeping outwards toward the door, as it symbolically pushes good fortune and abundance out of the home. Whether or not you believe in these interpretations, there's a modern psychological truth at play. The way we handle our space communicates how we handle our energy, and placing the broom in the kitchen sends a subtle, persistent signal that abundance must be managed, cleaned, or held back. If you've ever walked into someone's house, perhaps a well-known figure or celebrity home you've seen in a design magazine, you may have noticed how few utility tools are visible. Why? Because intentional design speaks louder than tools. Beyoncé, for instance, is famously known for her minimalist, sanctuary-like home interiors, where even the practical items are hidden behind sleek cabinetry or recessed storage. Her kitchen isn't about effort, it's about ease, about flow. Ease is not laziness, it's optimized energy. So how can we apply this principle to our own spaces practically? Start with one question. Is my broom visible where I cook? If the answer is yes, here's your next step. Relocate it, not randomly, but with intention. Find a place that's out of the visual line of sight, ideally enclosed, like a closet or behind a door, near other maintenance items like detergents, trash bags, etc., so the symbolism stays in one zone. And now, the more important part, what will you replace it with? This is where symbolic balancing comes in. If you've removed something that represents cleanup, clutter, or task load, replace it with something that represents growth, vitality, or ease. A few great options. A tall snake plant, known for its air-purifying qualities and upright growth energy. A small wooden sculpture representing groundedness and natural simplicity. And a jar of herbs, rosemary, bay leaves, cinnamon sticks, evoking scent, healing, and flavor. It doesn't have to be expensive, but it does have to be intentional. Now you might be wondering, does moving a broom really make that big of a difference? Yes, and here's why. In behavioral design, a principle called cue exposure reminds us that our habits are shaped by what we see. When you enter a space and the cues around you are aligned with calm, strength, nourishment, and ease, your body and mind begin to mirror that. When the cues are about work, mess, or fixing things, you stay in a state of alertness or resistance. One real-life example comes from the corporate world. Steve Jobs was notoriously meticulous about what appeared in his workspaces. His teams reported that even a misplaced object on a desk, if it didn't belong to the task at hand, was seen as energetic friction. He understood what many great creators understand. Your external space whispers to your internal state. If that's true at Apple HQ, it's also true in your kitchen. So let's recap what this seemingly simple broom in the kitchen issue is really about. It subconsciously ties your nourishment space to cleaning chores. It symbolizes management of energy, not flow of energy. It sends signals of burden and upkeep instead of calm and resourcefulness. It visually disrupts a zone meant for grounding, creativity, and connection. The solution? Not a ritual, not a superstition, just a small, intentional act of reorganization with symbolic substitution. Move the broom, replace it with something life-giving, and let your kitchen stop whispering about what needs to be fixed and start speaking about what's already working. Because in a well-balanced home, even the quietest corners should reflect your abundance. Mistake number 2, the empty rice jar. Scarcity as a daily visual cue. There are few objects as universally associated with sustenance and stability as a jar of rice. Across cultures, especially in Asian households, rice isn't just a food. It's a symbol. It represents nourishment, reliability, and continuity. It's the daily ingredient that anchors entire cuisines, connects generations, and quietly assures us there's enough. So when that jar sits empty on the shelf, day after day, it sends a much louder signal than we might realize. In Feng Shui terms, an empty rice jar can represent scarcity, a subtle but steady whisper that says, you're running out, you're not prepared, you don't have enough. But let's take it even further, into the realm of subconscious psychology and modern behavioral design. Imagine this. Every morning you walk into your kitchen, open the cabinet, and glance at a half-empty jar with a few lonely grains of rice stuck to the bottom. You might not register it as a problem. You might even think, I'll refill it later. But the subconscious mind doesn't wait. It interprets that jar as a signal, a metaphor, a visual representation of lack. And when this visual is repeated day after day, it builds, it compounds. It begins to shape your perception, not just of your pantry, but of your world. This is what researchers call environmental reinforcement. It's the idea that our beliefs and emotions aren't just internal. They're shaped, reinforced, or challenged by the spaces we inhabit. When your environment reflects empty, almost gone, or nothing left, it becomes increasingly difficult to cultivate a mindset of abundance, safety, or ease. Take Oprah Winfrey again as a guiding figure in intentional living. In her interviews, she often speaks about curating her environment to mirror her values. She once mentioned how she never lets her pantry sit empty, not because she's worried about food shortage, but because it gives her a sense of being provided for. She intentionally chooses fullness as a mindset and reflects it in even the smallest spaces of her home. We can learn from that. An empty rice jar may not seem like a big deal, but in symbolic space design, it's a visual trigger, a small but constant cue that there might not be enough. And here's the deeper impact. When you live in a space that quietly reflects scarcity, you unconsciously begin to overcompensate. You might begin hoarding in other areas, or develop an anxious attachment to money, or simply feel a background noise of fear, the kind that's hard to name but easy to feel. From a financial psychology standpoint, this is critical. Scarcity doesn't just affect what you spend, it affects how you think. When you operate from scarcity, you avoid risk, you undervalue your time, you hesitate before investing in yourself. Even if your actual income is stable, your mindset stays in survival mode. And where does that story begin? Often in the spaces you see every day, like your kitchen shelves. Now let's turn toward the fix, the intentional shift. The most obvious solution? Fill the jar, but let's go deeper. First, what you fill it with matters. It doesn't have to be expensive rice or exotic grains. You can use plain white rice, brown rice, beans, or even lentils. The substance is less important than the symbolism. What matters is that it looks full, feels full, and reflects care. Second, choose your jar wisely. Many people use a repurposed plastic container, which is fine, but it lacks emotional presence. If you're trying to cultivate abundance, why not choose a jar that you actually enjoy looking at? Something with weight, clarity, a lid that closes with intention. This small upgrade signals, this matters. I care about what I nourish myself with. Third, add a symbolic touch. You can tuck a small coin at the bottom of the jar. Not for superstition, but for meaning. It becomes a silent intention. May my pantry never be empty. May I always have enough. May I remember to be grateful even for the simple things. And here's a powerful addition. Place a sticky note or slip of paper with a word that speaks to you, something like plenty, overflow, or thank you. Every time you reach into the jar, you'll see that word. You'll reinforce that mindset. It's like creating a mini ritual around something you already do. And that's the key. Transformation doesn't come from adding new rituals. It comes from infusing meaning into the ones you already have. Think of a chef like Alice Waters, a pioneer in slow food and mindful cooking. She talks about the kitchen as a place of reverence, not rush. She doesn't see a jar of rice as a container. She sees it as a promise, a quiet agreement between the present and the future. That today I have enough, that tomorrow I will again. That's what the full rice jar represents. So let's summarize what's really happening when you leave a rice jar empty. You're reinforcing a subconscious narrative of depletion or uncertainty. You're creating a visual cue that disrupts your sense of security. You're inviting low energy into a space meant for nourishment and strength. And when you choose to fill it, intentionally, beautifully, symbolically, you begin to rewrite that story. You don't just refill your pantry, you refill your mindset. You tell your body and brain, there's more where that came from. You remind yourself that abundance isn't always loud. Sometimes it looks like a jar of rice, full, waiting quietly enough. And in the story of your kitchen, that's a message worth seeing every single day. Mistake number 3, washing machine in the kitchen. The energetic clash of fire and water. At first glance, putting a washing machine in the kitchen might seem like a clever, space-saving solution, especially in smaller homes or urban apartments where laundry rooms are a luxury. But when we look deeper, this setup may be creating a conflict far greater than what's visible on the surface. From a Feng Shui perspective, the kitchen is ruled by the element of fire. It's the place of heat, transformation, and nourishment. The stove in particular represents wealth and health, both metaphorically and practically, as it is where the food that sustains life is prepared. In contrast, the washing machine belongs to the water element. It swirls, drains, and cleanses, all necessary functions, but one associated with release, not retention. So what happens when you place fire and water next to each other, competing for dominance in the same space? You create an elemental clash, one that may be subtle in form, but significant in effect. Let's go beyond symbolism for a moment and explore the emotional landscape this clash creates. Cooking and cleaning are two entirely different energetic experiences. One is creative and nourishing, the other is functional and often reactionary, done in response to a mess. When you place them side by side, those two experiences begin to blur. You may notice yourself feeling hurried while cooking, disconnected from the joy of the process. Or perhaps more telling, you find that kitchen tasks begin to feel transactional, a chore, not a choice. What's fascinating is that this blend of functions disrupts not only the flow of the space, but also your ability to be fully present in either task. You may unconsciously rush through meals to clear the counter before the next laundry cycle. You might find yourself checking on the washer mid-recipe, disrupting your creative rhythm. This constant mental toggling between roles, chef and housekeeper, splits your attention. And where attention splits, energy drains. Now let's talk about health. From a sanitation standpoint, a washing machine near your food prep area introduces risks most people don't consider. Even in modern machines, water discharge may contain residual detergent, bacteria from soiled clothes, or mold buildup from damp interiors. If ventilation is poor, moisture from a running washer can collect in corners, creating a breeding ground for mildew. And that's not what you want circulating in a space meant to nourish your body. Here's something interesting from the design world. Marie Kondo, the global advocate of intentional spaces, rarely, if ever, features appliances like washing machines in the kitchen. Why? Because they disrupt flow, not just energy flow, but workflow. In her minimalist, highly considered interiors, every function has its place, and cross-contamination, whether emotional, energetic, or physical, is minimized. It's not about perfection, it's about clarity. That's what this mistake is really about. Losing clarity in a space where you need it most. In Feng Shui, clarity in the kitchen supports clarity in finances, in health decisions, in daily nourishment. But when the environment mixes signals, cook here, wash clothes here, manage two energies in one breath, that clarity becomes harder to reach. Now, does this mean you need to renovate your home or feel guilty for your current setup? Absolutely not. The power lies not in what's wrong, but in what you choose to realign. Here are practical, achievable solutions to bring balance back into your space. 1. If possible, relocate your washing machine outside the kitchen, to a balcony, bathroom, or enclosed closet area. Even a partial move, such as placing it just outside the kitchen threshold, can create energetic separation. 2. If relocation isn't an option, create a visual and symbolic boundary between the stove and the washer. A foldable screen, a narrow shelving unit, or even a hanging curtain can work wonders. This isn't just about aesthetics, It helps your mind shift gears when you move from one function to another. 3. Use material cues. Try wood elements, a bamboo screen, a wooden crate, to create a bridge between fire and water. Wood in Feng Shui helps mediate the transition between water and fire, offering both flow and support. 4. Add scent or sound to create experiential separation. Light a scented candle while cooking, citrus or rosemary for clarity, or play soft instrumental music only when preparing meals. This tells your nervous system, now we cook, now we care. And one of the simplest solutions of all, shift your mindset. When you're cooking, cook. When you're doing laundry, do laundry. If both exist in the same room, give them distinct times, don't multitask. Bring presence to the ritual that matters most in the moment. One last insight to anchor this concept. Think of a professional chef, like Massimo Bottura or Alice Waters. Would they place a washing machine next to their stove? Not because they're superstitious, but because they understand that cooking is sacred, that nourishment requires focus, that you cannot create magic in the same space where you scrub away the past. Your kitchen deserves that level of reverence too. So let's recap what's really at stake with this common design choice. It blends conflicting energies, fire versus water, which creates emotional tension and distraction. It blurs functional roles, making it harder to feel grounded and present. It can compromise hygiene and impact your long-term health. It reduces the symbolic power of the kitchen as a space of creation, joy, and wealth. But with simple changes, a shift in layout, a symbolic divider, or even a daily ritual that separates tasks, you can reclaim the energy. You can turn your kitchen back into a sanctuary, a place where things don't clash, they harmonize. And in that harmony, abundance has room to return. Mistake number 4, leaky faucet, the slow, silent drain on energy and wealth. At first glance, a leaky faucet may seem like nothing more than a minor annoyance, a dripping sound in the background, perhaps a slightly higher water bill over time. But when viewed through the lens of energy and intentional design, this tiny problem reveals a much deeper message. Your home is mirroring a subtle, ongoing loss, whether it's water, attention, emotional energy, or even money. A drip that never stops is never just about plumbing. It's about the feeling of losing something drop by drop without realizing how much is gone until you pause to measure it. In Feng Shui, water represents wealth, movement, and emotional flow. It's considered one of the most vital and powerful elements associated not just with money, but with clarity, intuition, and connection. A strong, well-contained flow of water suggests alignment, power, and prosperity. But when water leaks, slowly, aimlessly, constantly, it's like watching your resources, focus, or luck slowly bleed away, unseen but deeply felt. Let's break this down practically. Every drop that slips from a faucet into a sink doesn't just represent wasted water. It represents misdirected energy. Energy that could have been conserved, redirected, or transformed into something useful. In energy psychology, these micro leaks in our environment often reflect unresolved tension, indecision, or avoidance. A broken fixture becomes a symbol of the things we're tolerating, even when we shouldn't. In organizational psychology, this concept is known as tolerations. These are the small irritations in your life you've grown used to, the messy drawer, the squeaky hinge, the flickering light, and yes, the leaky faucet. Each one creates low-grade stress that compounds over time. When you have a home full of tiny unresolved disruptions, your nervous system never fully relaxes. It may seem subtle, but energetically, your body is always scanning your environment, asking, is everything functioning? Am I safe here? Am I supported here? When the answer is not quite, that uncertainty settles into your bones. Let's consider it from a symbolic and financial angle. A leak, quite literally, is the loss of a resource. And even if the physical cost is small, the energetic signal is loud. Your home is whispering to you, you're losing something, something is escaping. And the subconscious mind that absorbs this message without judgment. This may sound esoteric, but even financial consultants and business leaders echo this pattern in other contexts. Take Warren Buffett, one of the most revered figures in finance. He's often said, it's not the big expenses that kill you, it's the small leaks you don't notice. While he's talking about money, the metaphor translates perfectly to your home. What are you letting slip through your fingers, one drop at a time? Now let's consider how a leaky faucet impacts well-being and relationships. From a health standpoint, leaks, especially persistent ones, can lead to mold and dampness, which are well-documented triggers for respiratory issues, fatigue, and cognitive fog. If you're over the age of 50 or caring for young children or elders in your home, that damp environment can be particularly harmful over time. From a relational perspective, persistent home issues, even small ones, are proven to increase tension among household members. In a 2019 study on household stressors, researchers found that unresolved minor maintenance problems ranked surprisingly high as a trigger for partner conflict and feelings of overwhelm. So, what's the fix? It's not just calling a plumber. Although yes, do that. The real fix begins with reframing the faucet not as a utility, but as a symbol. Ask yourself, where am I leaking energy in my life? Where am I ignoring small problems because they feel too insignificant to matter? What drip, drip, drip am I tolerating in my finances, my habits, or my mindset? Because that's what the faucet reflects. Now, for a practical and energetic reset, here's a simple ritual that combines physical repair with symbolic realignment. 1. Fix the leak. Do it yourself or call someone in. Don't delay. The act of addressing it promptly sends a powerful message. I do not tolerate loss. I value containment and clarity. 2. Clean the sink and surrounding area thoroughly. Wipe down with warm water and a few drops of lemon or rosemary oil, both known in energetic practices for clearing mental and emotional stagnation. 3. Place a small plant nearby, perhaps a peace lily or aloe vera, to restore balance. Plants near water features are said to anchor the element, offering grounding and restoring life where flow was lost. 4. Optional, write down a financial intention on a small slip of paper, e.g., I retain and grow all that is mine. Fold it and place it in a drawer near the sink. This small symbolic action anchors the new energy. Some people also choose to place a small crystal, such as clear quartz or green aventurine, near the repaired area, not for magic, but as a visual token of freshness, abundance, and renewed flow. And here's a mindset bonus. Every time you hear water running, but this time intentionally, say a phrase in your mind, all that flows returns to me multiplied. This simple affirmation shifts your relationship with water, from something leaking out to something flowing in. In modern business, we talk about systems optimization, plugging the leaks in your business model, increasing retention, removing friction. Your home deserves that same strategic care because your faucet, your plumbing, is part of your system. And when that system leaks, everything downstream is affected. Let's summarize. A leaky faucet may look minor but symbolizes financial, emotional, and energetic loss. Left unresolved, it reinforces patterns of toleration, avoidance, and anxiety. Fixing it is not just maintenance, it's a powerful gesture of self-respect. Pairing the repair with a symbolic reset like plant life or intentional language amplifies the impact. In short, don't let the slow drip of unresolved energy echo through your kitchen. Seal it, restore it. Let your home and your mindset reflect fullness, not erosion. Because even in the smallest corners of your home, energy is either accumulating or leaking, and you deserve to feel supported, whole, and steady, starting from the tap. Mistake number 5, mirrors in the kitchen. When reflection distorts, energy not enhances it. In modern home design, mirrors are often seen as magical tools. They make small spaces feel bigger, bounce light around the room, and add a touch of style. But in the kitchen, a space that carries unique emotional and energetic weight, mirrors can have unexpected consequences. Let's be clear, mirrors are not inherently bad. They're powerful. And in Feng Shui, power without placement is chaos. Think about what a mirror does. It doubles whatever it reflects. That can be wonderful when it reflects a thriving plant, a beautiful bowl of fruit, or a joyful family meal. But when it reflects clutter, fire, water tension, or even a chaotic cooking process, it doesn't just bounce those images back, it amplifies them. The kitchen, as we've discussed in previous sections, is the heart of nourishment. It's ruled by the fire element and associated with abundance, transformation, and grounding. It's the zone where raw things become meals, and by extension, where effort becomes support. The energy here is already active, dynamic, and in motion. Introducing a mirror into that mix, it's like adding a megaphone to a room that was already loud. Here's a metaphor. Mirrors in a kitchen can be like a second conductor trying to lead a symphony. At best, it's distracting. At worst, it creates dissonance. From a psychological standpoint, reflective surfaces in spaces of high activity can subtly fragment attention. According to interior design psychology, the mind craves visual stability in functional areas. When your brain catches glimpses of constant motion, boiling pots, moving hands, flickering flames, all bouncing off a mirror, it creates cognitive fatigue. You may not notice it at first, but over time, your kitchen feels less calming, less grounding, and more agitating. And there's another layer to this, the symbolism of the stove. In Feng Shui, the stove is considered one of the most potent symbols of wealth. It represents the source of sustenance, the metaphorical fire that supports your health and financial energy. Placing a mirror in the direct view of the stove, particularly behind or adjacent to it, might seem like a clever design move to make a space feel larger, but energetically, it's complicated. Some schools of Feng Shui suggest that doubling the stove with a mirror can double wealth, but others, and I agree with this more nuanced view, warn that it can create an overstimulation of fire energy, leading to burnout, tension, and even conflict. Remember, more isn't always better. We see this mirrored, pun intended, in modern high-performance environments. Think of someone like Steve Jobs, a master of simplicity and control. He once said, "Simple can be harder than complex. You have to work hard to get your thinking clean." That's a principle that also applies to design. Not everything has to be more. In fact, the less you reflect in a high-energy space like the kitchen, the clearer the energy becomes. Let's bring this down to a human level. Imagine this. You're cooking dinner at the end of a long day. You're already a little tired, maybe a little mentally scattered. You turn around and see your movements reflected back to you in real time. It's not soothing, it's stimulating, and in the wrong way. You may also begin to internalize what you're seeing. In mirror psychology, especially in functional spaces, your reflection becomes part of the task. You're not just cooking, you're watching yourself cook. And that internal shift over time can make daily rituals feel performative instead of restorative. So what's the fix? If you already have a mirror in the kitchen, especially one that reflects the stove, don't panic. This isn't about shame or design guilt. It's about gentle correction. Option 1, remove the mirror entirely if possible and replace it with a matte surface. Think warm tile, stone, wood, or even textured paint. These materials absorb energy rather than scatter it. Option 2, if the mirror is fixed, such as part of cabinetry, balance the space with earthy grounding elements directly opposite it. A bowl of lemons, a clay pot, a wooden cutting board. These pieces anchor the energy and soften the amplification. Option 3, shift the mirror's purpose. If it's facing a less active area, like a wall near a dining nook or herb shelf, use it to reflect something calming and intentional. For example, a mirror that reflects a vase of fresh flowers or a peaceful still life can help recenter the space. Option 4, apply a semi-transparent film or frosted overlay to dull the reflection slightly. This reduces visual stimulation while maintaining a light diffusing effect. And here's something subtle but powerful. Use lighting to direct attention away from the mirror. Soft, warm lighting, especially under cabinet lights or wall sconces, can pull visual energy away from the reflective surface and redistribute it more evenly throughout the room. As always, a symbolic touch can reinforce the shift. You might place a small affirmation or object near the mirror, a reminder of balance. Something like, "I reflect only what nourishes." It may sound poetic, But when repeated daily, it becomes a quiet reprogramming of your space's message. Let's review what we've uncovered here. Mirrors in the kitchen, especially near the stove, can amplify energy to the point of imbalance. They increase cognitive load and visual stimulation in a space meant for rhythm, not reaction. Symbolically, they can distort the essence of nourishment into something performative or chaotic. With small design shifts, their impact can be redirected or softened to support calm and focus. The truth is, a mirror is not just glass, it's a portal, one that either reflects peace or multiplies pressure. So ask yourself, what do I want more of in my kitchen? Clarity or chaos? Ease or echo? Your answer will guide your next move, and your mirror will follow. Part 2. Design disharmony and elemental clash. Mental clashes. Mistake number 6, water and fire imbalance. When functional layout creates energetic tension. In the language of design and Feng Shui, every space is built around the dance of the 5 elements: wood, fire, earth, metal, and water. These elements aren't just symbolic, they represent real, observable dynamics in your space. Movement, heat, weight, structure, and flow. In the kitchen, the 2 most powerful elements are fire and water. The stove, with its flames and heat, symbolizes transformation, wealth, and vitality. The faucet and sink, cool, flowing, and cleansing, represent purification, release, and the emotional current of the home. Both are necessary. Both are potent, but when placed too close together, or worse, directly beside one another, they don't cooperate. They compete. This elemental conflict isn't just a matter of aesthetics or a tradition. It's spatial psychology. Imagine trying to focus on writing a meaningful letter while sitting between 2 loud conversations. That's what's happening energetically when your stove and sink are side by side. Your mind registers tension, even if your eyes don't. And over time, that low-level unease becomes part of your cooking experience. What does that look like in real life? It looks like feeling rushed or agitated while preparing meals. It feels like disconnection from the ritual of cooking, that grounded, nourishing rhythm. It shows up in scattered thoughts, burned food, forgotten steps, or frustration between family members hovering in the same space. In ancient Feng Shui, fire and water placed too close together were believed to create internal conflict in a household, not because the elements are angry, but because the constant energetic push and pull puts people on edge. It's a subtle but steady erosion of flow. Now let's bring this into the realm of modern design psychology. In kitchens with thoughtful layouts, zones of function are defined and respected. Cooking, cleaning, prep, and storage each have their space. And that separation helps reduce mental fatigue. When your sink and stove are jammed next to each other, your mind doesn't get a break between tasks. You're boiling pasta while rinsing vegetables while dodging a hot pan. You may be able to do it, but it's not graceful. It's not peaceful. And that lack of grace ripples outward. When your kitchen flow is compromised, your body feels it. You may stand in awkward postures. You may carry more tension in your shoulders. You may snap at your partner or child simply because the space keeps your nervous system slightly activated. Even high-performance chefs understand this. In professional kitchens, there's a very intentional distance between water and fire. Not only for safety, but for focus. A sous chef prepping by the sink where it doesn't interrupt the line cook at the grill. And while your home isn't a restaurant, the principle still applies. Flow matters. So what do you do if your stove and faucet are too close? Start with awareness. That alone is powerful. Then introduce separation, visually, symbolically, and spatially. Here are several accessible, elegant solutions. 1. Use a wooden or bamboo tray between the sink and the stove. Wood is the element that balances fire and water in Feng Shui theory. Symbolically, it acts as a bridge. Functionally, it breaks up the energy. You can place salt jars, olive oil, or herbs here. It becomes a buffer zone. 2. Add a raised spice shelf or cutting board stand in between. This creates vertical separation and provides utility. The key is to block the direct energetic line between flame and flow. 3. Use lighting to define zones. A warmer under-cabinet light above the stove and a cooler tone above the sink helps your brain register the spaces as distinct. 4. If your kitchen is open concept, anchor the stove zone with a small rug or mat. Texture creates energetic friction, a visual pause that tells the body, you're entering a different task space now. And if you want to go even deeper, design a ritual around the transition from water to fire. For example, after washing produce, you might place it in a wooden bowl before bringing it to the stove. That act, small as it is, creates intention. You're not just rinsing and dumping, you're shifting energy. You're pausing between elements. A symbolic tip. Place a small item between the zones that reminds you of balance. Perhaps a smooth stone, a ceramic token, or a small plant. It's not decoration, it's a cue. A message to your body that flow matters. Let's be honest, very few kitchens are perfectly laid out. We live in real homes, not design catalogs, but real homes can still reflect real harmony, not through perfection, but through care. Let's summarize what this mistake teaches us. Fire, stove, and water, sink, placed too closely together create energetic tension that disrupts focus and peace. This tension can subtly affect your mood, posture, cooking experience, and even family dynamics. Visual and functional boundaries, such as trays, shelving, or symbolic objects, can buffer and balance the space. Rituals and intentional design choices restore not only flow in your space, but clarity in your actions. At its core, this fix isn't about moving appliances, it's about moving energy. And once you begin to treat your kitchen like a place where energy flows, not just where food is made, everything softens. The frustration lifts, the rhythm returns. Because in a balanced kitchen, the elements don't clash, they collaborate. Mistake number 7, nourishment near negativity, when the stove faces the bathroom door. Picture this, you're standing at your stove, preparing dinner. The scent of sautéed garlic fills the air. Your focus is on the food, and just a few feet in front of you, through an open doorway, you can see the inside of a bathroom. The toilet, the drain, the place designed to carry waste out of the home. Whether you've consciously noticed it or not, something about this arrangement feels wrong. And that's not just personal taste, it's energetic dissonance. In Feng Shui, every room in your home serves a purpose beyond its practical function. The stove symbolizes creation, of nourishment, of energy, of wealth. It is often referred to as the financial engine of the house. It's where raw ingredients are transformed into support, comfort, and celebration. Now contrast that with the bathroom, the most symbolically subtractive space in your home. It's where we release, cleanse, flush away. It is a zone of elimination, necessary, yes, but energetically heavy and inward pulling. So what happens when your stove, the source of abundance, directly faces a space of disposal? You create an ongoing energetic contradiction, a visual and symbolic tug-of-war between holding and releasing, between building and discarding. And just like the previous elemental clashes we've discussed, this subtle opposition begins to take its toll, not just on your space, but on your state of mind. Let's break it down further. When the stove faces the bathroom door, the fire of nourishment is visually and symbolically pointed at a zone of flushing, draining, and dissolving. In energy terms, this creates an escape route for prosperity. You're making something, but it's being pulled toward release. Cooking becomes disconnected from focus. It feels exposed. Even if you don't believe in symbolic energy, the human brain does. In environmental psychology, proximity to spaces associated with uncleanliness, even if immaculately maintained, can alter behavior. A 2014 study from the University of Michigan found that people working near visible bathrooms unconsciously reported lower satisfaction and focus compared to those who worked further away or with visual barriers in place. They weren't grossed out, they just felt slightly off, unsettled. The same principle applies in your kitchen. When you're cooking, especially for your family, you're performing an act of love, of service, of creation. But when your eyes keep catching the open bathroom door, your nervous system can't help but react. You become more easily distracted. You might feel the need to rush. Over time, the kitchen stops feeling like a place of joy and starts to feel like a zone of negotiation, one where you're unconsciously managing discomfort. And the longer this imbalance continues, the more subtle its impact can become. Some Feng Shui practitioners suggest that this layout may even lead to chronic fatigue, digestive imbalances, or stagnation in income flow. While these claims may not be universally measurable, they speak to a deeper truth. Your home's layout affects how your energy flows, or doesn't. But here's the good news. You don't need to renovate your home to redirect the energy. With a little intention and some simple tools, you can create a powerful visual and energetic buffer, one that reestablishes the stove as a sovereign zone of nourishment, protected and focused. Here are a few gentle, beautiful fixes you can consider. 1. Place a tall plant or bamboo screen between the stove and the bathroom door. Not only does this act as a visual block, but plants also absorb energy and soften the divide. Snake plants, palms, or even a cluster of dried reeds, or you can do the job without taking up much space. 2. Hang a light beaded curtain in the bathroom doorway, especially if you can't keep the door closed at all times. The subtle sound and movement of the beads create a threshold effect, reminding the body and mind that the spaces are distinct. 3. Use a narrow shelf or console table against the wall beside the stove. Stock it with herbs, cookbooks, or a decorative bowl of citrus fruit, anything that represents vitality and forward energy. This anchors the kitchen's energy and signals, we build here, not drain. 4. Consider placing a piece of artwork above the stove, something that feels abundant, radiant, or personal. It draws attention upward and inward, away from the draining sightline of the bathroom. And perhaps most importantly, create a boundary in your habits. Make it a point to always close the bathroom door before cooking. This might seem small, but over time, it reinforces an energetic discipline, a ritual that says, I protect the space where I create. Let's recap what this layout teaches us. The stove symbolizes wealth, health, and the ability to nourish self and others. The bathroom represents release and disposal, energetically opposite to creation. A direct visual line between them subtly drains focus, clarity, and vitality. With symbolic dividers, visual cues, and mindful habits, the energy can be redirected. This isn't about fear, it's about flow. When you treat your kitchen like a sacred space, not in a religious sense, but in a deeply human sense, you begin to cook differently. You show up with more presence, you care more, you feel more aligned. And in that alignment, peace returns. Because when nourishment is respected, even down to the way you face your stove, it ripples outward into every meal, every conversation, every act of generosity that starts from your home. Mistake number 8, direct exit path for energy. When the stove faces the main door. Imagine this, you walk through the front door of your home after a long day. You drop your keys, glance up, and there it is, your stove, directly in front of you. For some, this layout may feel efficient, even open and spacious, but according to the principles of Feng Shui, and more broadly environmental psychology, this is one of the most energetically volatile arrangements in any home. Why? Because in energetic terms, your main entrance is not just a door. It is the mouth of Qi, the place where energy, opportunity, people, and flow enter your life. And your stove? It is the altar of nourishment, the symbol of how you generate wealth, warmth, and vitality in your household. It is not just an appliance, it is a metaphor for your output, your abundance, your ability to transform effort into support. When the stove directly faces the front door, these two forces, incoming and outgoing, collide. And in that collision, stability is lost. Let's use a metaphor. Imagine trying to hold water in a cup while someone pours from one side and another person pulls from the opposite side. Nothing stays. Everything either rushes in too fast or drains out too soon. That's what this layout creates. A flow that never settles, never integrates, never roots. In symbolic language, when your stove faces the door, your wealth is the first thing to greet the world and the first thing to leave. It doesn't stick around. The energy that should be nourishing you and your loved ones doesn't have time to settle. It's like preparing a beautiful meal, only to throw it out before anyone can eat. But this isn't just an abstract idea. It's also rooted in how humans perceive space. From a psychological perspective, the kitchen should feel like a safe zone, a place where you're somewhat shielded from exposure. But when your back is to the entrance while you cook, you may feel subconsciously vulnerable. There's a primal discomfort that comes from preparing food while not knowing who might walk in. Even if you live alone, even if your home is secure, your nervous system doesn't know the difference. It just knows, I'm not facing the entrance. I'm not protected. This leads to increased mental tension, the kind you might not even be aware of until it disappears. It could manifest as a persistent feeling of unease while cooking, a reluctance to spend time in the kitchen, or even financial stagnation that mirrors this sense of wealth slipping away. Let's also look at the deeper metaphor of integration. In a harmonious home, energy enters, lingers, and becomes part of the fabric of the household. But when it enters and immediately exits, as it does when the stove greets the door, there's no time for integration. Inspiration doesn't settle. Opportunities may arrive, but they don't land. Money may come in and go out just as quickly. Emotionally, it can feel like being constantly in motion without ever feeling truly supported. So what can you do? Let's start with practical, elegant fixes to redirect the flow without major renovations. 1. Add a piece of artwork or wall hanging behind or beside the stove. Choose something that feels abundant, grounding, or symbolic of rootedness, such as landscapes, fruit bowls, or flourishing plants. This creates a visual anchor that slows down the energy coming in through the door. 2. Position a tall plant or decorative panel between the stove and the entrance. This doesn't have to block the line completely. It simply needs to disrupt the direct path, allowing energy to spiral, slow, and stay. Bonus, use materials like bamboo, wood, or linen for a natural calming feel. 3. If your kitchen includes an island or counter between the stove and the door, raise the countertop with a backsplash or shelf. This acts as a subtle dam for incoming energy, allowing you to feel protected while still maintaining openness. 4. Use furniture or room dividers to subtly define the kitchen boundary. Even a slim bookshelf or open frame divider near the entry can make a significant energetic difference. And here's something internal you can do. Before cooking, take a moment to physically turn and face the door. Even if your back will be to it while you work, starting your ritual with a conscious greeting, a moment of acknowledgement, helps you feel centered and sovereign in the space. You can also adopt a micro practice like this one. Every time you begin to cook, say silently or aloud, "Everything that comes to me stays with me. I integrate abundance with grace." This may sound poetic, but it's powerful. It's a way of affirming that you're not just open to receiving, you're ready to hold what you've received. Let's recap what this layout teaches us. A stove facing the main door creates a high-velocity energy path, one where wealth and nourishment may exit too quickly. This setup can cause feelings of exposure, agitation, or instability in daily routines. The solution isn't to block energy, it's to slow it, redirect it, allow it to settle. With artwork, screens, plants, or elevated counters, you create a symbolic buffer that invites integration and stability. When energy enters your home, it should feel invited, not hurried. And when abundance arrives, it should feel like it belongs, not like it's passing through. By turning your stove away from the door's direct line, even symbolically, you allow your home to become a space where things land, where energy gathers, where wealth doesn't just show up, but stays. And in that stillness, in that pause, something beautiful happens. You stop chasing, you stop leaking, you start receiving. Mistake number 9, disharmony and spatial hierarchy. When the kitchen floor is higher than the living room. At first glance, elevation in a home might seem purely architectural, the result of construction limitations or aesthetic choice. A step up into the kitchen or a sunken living room may look dramatic and modern. But in both Feng Shui and environmental psychology, elevation isn't just spatial, it's symbolic. To put it simply, in any space, public or private, height signals hierarchy. Where something sits in relation to something else tells the brain who or what holds more power, visibility, or influence. Just as we place a podium higher than the audience, or a CEO's office above the work floor, a raised kitchen over a sunken living room sends a subtle but persistent message. The kitchen is looking down, and what should be a space of support and service is elevated above the area of rest, gathering, and connection. It's a reversal of roles. And over time, that reversal affects more than the eye. It impacts the energy and interaction within the home. Let's break it down. In traditional Feng Shui, the kitchen is considered an essential but secondary energy zone. It serves the family, it supports health, it feeds the future. But it's not meant to command the house, especially not energetically. That role typically belongs to the living room or central space, where relationships are nurtured, conversations unfold, and the essence of daily life plays out. When the kitchen is physically higher than the living area, it sends a symbolic signal. Function is elevated above connection. Doing trumps being. Service overshadows presence. Now, in modern psychology, this is also supported by how humans respond to vertical positioning in their environment. Research from architectural psychology shows that people unconsciously perceive elevated platforms, even by just 6 inches, as authoritative zones. People seated or gathered in a lower area instinctively feel slightly more passive, more observant, or less central. And while this dynamic might be appropriate in a courtroom or auditorium, in a home, it creates a subtle hierarchy that affects how people interact. In practical terms, what might this look like? It could mean conversations during meal prep become strained. The person in the kitchen talks down to those in the living room, both literally and emotionally. It may feel harder for family members to relax or settle when the room of nourishment feels like it's perched above, watching. Or it could manifest as a power imbalance, where domestic tasks or food preparation start to feel like a higher priority than rest and relationship. This isn't about being dramatic. It's about how your home constantly speaks to you, even when you're not listening. So how do you respond when your kitchen is positioned above your living room? You restore balance, not by remodeling, but by using visual weight, texture, and symbolism to pull the kitchen's energy back down and lift the living space's energy up. Here's how. 1. Use rugs in the kitchen, especially if the floor is tile or wood. A soft textured rug visually grounds the space and removes the sense of upward elevation. Choose earth tones, woven textures, or grounding patterns like stripes or concentric circles. 2. Add downward-facing lighting in the kitchen zone. Pendant lights or sconces that focus light downward signal humility and containment. They pull visual energy toward the floor, quieting the dominant feel of the raised elevation. 3. In the living room, elevate key symbols of comfort, a well-placed standing lamp, a tall indoor plant, a raised bookshelf. These elements visually rise the space and draw the eye upward, restoring balance between the two levels. 4. Use tall-backed furniture or high shelving units in the living room to create architectural lift. This helps visually stabilize the relationship between the two spaces, reducing the sense of subordination. 5. Place art or symbolic decor above eye level in the living room. This could be a framed quote, a family photo, or a piece of textile art. This draws attention upward and reclaims the vertical space. 6. Emotional balance can be supported by ritual. Try beginning family time in the living room with a grounding practice, a shared tea moment, a gratitude round, or even a few minutes of intentional conversation. This tells your nervous system, this space matters, this is where we connect. Remember, energy isn't about inches, it's about experience. A 6-inch step might not seem like much, but when repeated over days, weeks, and years, it becomes a posture, not of the body, but of the home. And that posture shapes how people feel when they enter, gather, or sit. Let's summarize what this layout teaches us. A kitchen that's higher than the living room may create an unintended energetic hierarchy where function overshadows rest. This can subtly affect how household members relate to each other, diminishing the warmth and cohesion of shared space. Design psychology confirms that elevation affects perception. Higher zones are seen as more powerful or dominant. By using light, texture, placement, and intention, you can restore balance and harmony without tearing down a single wall. In the story of your home, space is more than structure, it's narrative. And with every small shift, a rug here, a lamp there, a breath before a meal, you rewrite that story toward balance. Because no one room should look down on another, especially not the one where hearts gather, laughter lands, and life unfolds one peaceful moment at a time. Mistake number 10, cooking in conflict. When the stove sits in a windy area, there's something deeply symbolic, almost poetic, about the act of cooking. The ignition of a flame, the transformation of raw ingredients into nourishment. It's a ritual as ancient as humanity itself. And yet, in today's home designs, we sometimes forget how fragile that ritual can be when the environment doesn't support it. Now imagine placing your stove in a space constantly swept by drafts or breezes, whether from an open window, outdoor setting, poorly sealed doors, or cross ventilation. On the surface, this might seem like a minor inconvenience, a flame that flickers, a burner that's hard to light, a breeze that carries aromas away. But look deeper, and the metaphor becomes clear. Wind is movement, flame is focus. And when movement continually disrupts focus, what remains is instability, in the air and in the self. In Feng Shui, the stove represents not only nourishment, but also personal power. It symbolizes the fire of intention, the spark of ambition, and the inner heat that sustains physical and financial well-being. A steady, protected flame reflects the energy of purpose. But an unprotected flame, one that flickers, fails, or blows out, signals diffusion, distraction, and depletion. This isn't about superstition. It's about what happens to our nervous system when we try to sustain focus in a space of chaos. In environmental psychology, unpredictable air currents, such as those found in windy kitchen environments, increase cognitive load. Your body may respond with subtle stress cues, restlessness, increased heart rate, irritability. These micro-reactions, when repeated daily in your cooking environment, can alter your emotional state around food and even the people you cook for. The act of cooking, which should feel grounding and nourishing, instead becomes unstable. You may begin to rush. You may skip steps. You may start to avoid the stove altogether, preferring takeout over creativity, not because you're lazy, but because your environment doesn't support your fire. And from a symbolic view, what does it mean when your fire won't stay lit? It means your energy can't gather. Your effort won't hold. Your wealth may feel like it's always on the edge, ready to vanish at the first gust of change. That's the energetic language your space is speaking, whether you hear it or not. But here's the good news. This is one of the easiest mistakes to correct, both physically and symbolically. Here's how to anchor your flame and restore the power of cooking with intention. 1. Install a clear glass panel or wind-blocking screen near the stove. If your kitchen opens onto a patio or balcony, a frameless tempered glass barrier maintains the openness of your space while gently shielding your flame. It says, movement is welcome, but only around, not through. 2. Introduce vertical bamboo or tall potted plants near the breezy entry point. Bamboo in Feng Shui symbolizes resilience and upward growth. It breaks wind patterns naturally, softens sharp energy, and represents flexible strength, just like your flame should. 3. Surround the stove area with wind-resistant herbs, rosemary, lemongrass, thyme. These hardy plants do double duty. They stabilize the air around your cooking zone and infuse the space with the natural aroma of intention. Use them fresh in your dishes and let the scent remind you. This space is alive, stable, and sacred. 4. If your stove is outdoors, like a barbecue or secondary prep area, place your cooking station near a wall or L-shaped corner to cut down on crosswind. Even subtle shelter makes a significant difference in the steadiness of your cooking energy. 5. Anchor your cooking with ritual. Before lighting the stove, pause. Breathe, say, let this flame stay steady, and may my focus stay strong. Again, not superstition, but symbolism. And symbolism, when repeated, becomes story, the story you live by. One more visual tip. Integrate stone or ceramic elements near your stove. Stone represents earth in Feng Shui, the stabilizer of all elements. A stone mortar, ceramic bowl, Or even a heavy cutting board grounds the fire and brings weight to the space, reducing the feeling of dispersal. Let's recap what this layout teaches us. Wind and flame, when not managed, create instability in one of the most vital zones of the home. An unsteady flame in the kitchen reflects inner and outer imbalance, particularly around effort, focus, and follow-through. With barriers, plants, and intentional placement, you can protect the fire that feeds your energy and your goals. Symbolic gestures like grounding herbs or spoken intentions reinforce steadiness and restore presence. At the heart of this lesson is a truth that reaches beyond the kitchen. When your fire is protected, your energy thrives. When your focus is shielded from distraction, your creativity returns. And when your space supports your flame, literally and metaphorically, you begin to cook not just with ingredients, but with purpose. So take this moment to look at your kitchen and ask, is my flame steady? Is my focus honored? Is my energy held? If the answer is no, it's not too late. Small changes, a panel, a plant, a pause, can reignite everything. Because in a home where the fire is respected, life doesn't just flicker, it flourishes. Final word. As we come to the end of this journey through the energy of your kitchen, I hope you're seeing it now not just as a room for function, but as a quiet engine of your home's well-being. Because when we look closely, we realize something simple but profound. Your environment is always communicating. Each object, each layout choice, each placement is casting a vote, either for ease or for tension, for clarity or for case, or for nourishment or depletion. And when that space is the kitchen, the heart of health, abundance, and family, the stakes are even higher. These 10 design mistakes we've explored aren't about superstition. They're about subtle alignment. They're reminders that we have the power to shape the energy around us, not just with our actions, but with how we arrange our space. A well-aligned kitchen isn't about perfection. It's about presence. It's about letting your space quietly support your values, your wellness, and your peace. When the space is harmonious, everything else flows more naturally, from meal times to mindset, from conversations to creativity. So if you're wondering where to start, don't feel overwhelmed. Choose just one small change, maybe moving a mirror, fixing a faucet, or shielding your stove from a breeze. Something simple, yet symbolic. Then watch, observe, see how that one shift begins to ripple outward, not just in your kitchen, but in your mood, your energy, and even your relationships. Because when your kitchen supports your life starts supporting you back. And if this video sparked something for you, if it helped you see your space with fresh eyes, I invite you to take one small step further. Leave a comment below and let me know. Which shift are you making first? I'd love to hear what you're changing and how it feels. Give this video a like, and if you think someone else could benefit from these insights, feel free to share it with them. And most of all, if this kind of mindful home energy speaks to you, please subscribe to New Day Mindfulness. With your support, I'm working toward reaching 1,000 subscribers so I can continue sharing thoughtful, practical content to help more people design spaces that support their purpose and peace. Thank you for being here. Your energy, your attention, it means the world. Until next time, may your home nourish you the way you nourish it. With peace, New Day Mindfulness.